Hey guys, it's May 1st, and this is episode 92 of the All Gen Gamers podcast. I'm the Metal Jesus of Metal Jesus Rocks, and I'm joined with my host tonight, John, Gamester81. Now, those of you that don't know, John is working towards a complete life-size blow-up Princess Peach collection. He's only $2 away.
I'm almost there.
Yeah. Which ones are you missing, John?
I'm missing the really rare limited edition Japanese version.
Is that the Kung Fu Grip one?
That's a Kung Fu Grip, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
She vibrates too. It's pretty crazy.
Loves a little hentai.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Also joined by Pete Dorr. I like to call him Obi-Wan Pete Kenobi because he's such a gaming Jedi. How's it going, Pete?
Doing pretty good.
Awesome. And then also we have Jason Heine of the EMU Review. Now, ladies, if you don't know, Jason's eHarmony name is Sir Sex-A-Lot. And I mean like a lot.
Jesus.
How's it going, Jason?
I'm good. Can you just take us in every episode from here on out? I love this.
And we have a very special guest tonight. He's actually a really good friend of mine. His name's Gil. Man, this guy is pretty busy. He does marketing for the upcoming Seattle Retro Gaming Expo that's going to be happening here in Seattle in June. And he's going to talk a little bit about that. He's also a mega collector with several stand-up arcade machines in his house. And he's got just a huge, really interesting collection. And he happens to be a full-time employee at Nintendo of North America. How's it going, Gil?
Oh, it goes great. Thanks for assuming I'm special. But yeah, no, thanks for having me on here. Totally stoked.
All right. So typically we start off these podcasts by asking a question like, what's your favorite game? What's your favorite movie or whatever that sort of stuff is. But I'm going to go straight. I'm going to go straight to the big question. And I'm going to ask you, how freaking awesome is it to work at Nintendo?
It's so awesome. It's my dream job come true. Since I was 4 years old, my mom, a little story I love to tell is my mom propped me up on a little Dairy Gold milk carton in front of a milk crate in front of a Donkey Kong machine. And I never seen one of these things before, not to my memory, but she popped a quarter in, I played it, loved it. Didn't know what I was doing, of course. And I died, and she was like, well, okay, here, play again. And I just remember the colors, the visuals, the sounds. And when I was done and I knew I had died, my mom was like, all right, it's time to go home. And this is a little corner store a block from home. But I cried my eyes out. I just bawled. And she was like, what's wrong? What's the matter? I'm like, I want to play some more, but I want to make those games. And so ironically, 25 years later, 30 years later, I'm working for Nintendo of America.
Gil, how did you land this job, this dream job of yours? How'd that come about?
Well, it was a lot of hard work. It starts with a little bit of luck, but I was in college about 5-6 years ago. And I was actually with my girlfriend at the time out in college, out in Pullman at Washington State University. And we were ready to move back to Seattle, and I didn't have a job. So I had tons of experience in retail. And so I got a part-time job at Best Buy just to kind of make ends meet. And then a friend of mine gave me a shout who was working at Nintendo, and he said, hey, you want to come out and do a little testing and do a little this and that? And sure. So, did that, and it was a full-time position. It got me 40 hours a week, but it was still an associate position contract. And so I did that and worked really hard, worked really steady for about a year and a half. And eventually I got offered a position, and now I'm there.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
It's a really cool story. Yeah.
Did you also work at GameWorks at one point?
I did. I was a VJ there at GameWorks, as well as a door host, and amongst other ridiculous jobs I did. But doing the VJ stuff was probably my claim to fame. I was the voice of Indy 500.
Oh, please do it.
Oh, jeez.
I know that one too. Please do it.
Oh God. Okay. Well, it's been years. So you hear that one guy on the system, throughout the whole venue. So it's like, all right, folks, it is time for a GameWorks game challenge. We're going to need 8 contestants here at Indy 500. The first 8 people to get down here are going to get to race and try to win themselves a $5 GameWorks game card. So,
yes, that's it.
So that was that was the voice I would always do, you know, on the
awesome.
system. And then when I got into the race, it was pretty hardcore. I mimicked a lot of my voice from watching a lot of horse racing. The announcers for that. So I was.
So you were basically doing what these League of Legends and StarCraft 2 live casters are doing now, way before they were even doing it.
on a Sega racing game. Yeah, so, of all things.
I remember when that GameWorks opened, and correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the very first GameWorks that ever opened?
It is the flagship location, and it's actually the one remaining location. They closed them all down. They expanded all the way to GameWorks Studio locations, which were kind of like, you know, the revival of the mall arcade and stuff. And they had a ton of locations, and then they closed them all down back to their main locations. And just recently, like the last year or so, they've closed them all down to just Las Vegas and Seattle. And I think Vegas is supposed to be gone too.
I think there's still one in Arizona.
Possibly. I don't know for sure, but I know the only one that for certain that I've been told that was going to stick around was the Seattle one.
Man, that's crazy.
Kind of shows you the times of the arcades, right?
It really does, yeah.
But I remember exactly the game we're talking about was upstairs, right? Those cars.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was Virtua Racing actually back in the early, wasn't it? Back in the early 90s when that came out. And then it went to Indy 500 and they upgraded it. But those are the ones where you sit in the formula car. It's fiberglass. It's got the bumpers, right? The airbags in it, right?
I love, Virtua Racing was one of the first, it was the first game I remember being charging $1 to play it.
Yes.
And we had one, there was one at the, what was it? Ivory's Video Game Palace on 2nd Avenue down here in downtown Seattle. And it was this huge Indy car, like right in the center. And I got in it and I was like, $1? It has a $1 slot too and everything, a bill acceptor. So I was like, okay. And I tried to race it and it in my mind, it sucked because I didn't know what I was doing because it's so damn complex.
Yeah, it's like very real. You know what I mean? I remember too. It's actually really a funny story. Is that's one of my favorite old school. I'm a sucker for those flat shaded polygon games. I just am.
You own
the old AM2 games.
Yeah. Freaking love them, and I love it so much. I actually own that arcade. I have a twin sit down Virtua Racing. Yeah, sit down, and it's just amazing. I love it, absolutely love it. That's one of the first games as a kid that just knocked me off my socks. And the same thing with you, Gil. I could not believe it was $1. I was like, you know what? One of the first places I played it was down at the Wharf. At that little arcade at the Wharf.
Right.
It was. They had one in there. And this was like
down
90,
Pier 57.
Yeah, this was like 90, like late 92, early 93.
Yeah.
Yep. We'd go down there and oh man. Awesome stuff.
Oh, good times.
Definitely.
I mean, as awesome as I look back on it, when I think back to my thoughts on the game at the time, I was like, man, this game's stupid. As soon as I try to make a turn, like my car would spin out. And then when I tried to get back on the track, I'd spin out some more. And by the time my game was over, by the time expired, like they were already like the computer cars were 2 laps ahead of me. I hated it at the time, but when I got to learn it and play it, oh man, it stands out as one of the best racers of all time for me.
Yeah.
Gil, are you born and raised in the Seattle area, or how long have you been up there?
Yeah, no, I've born and raised here.
I don't know if you remember the arcade. I was born and raised in that area too. I lived in Bellevue, but I don't know if you remember the place called Zones Arcade in Bellevue.
No, I never got out to it. When I was growing up, I pretty much stayed in the Seattle area.
Yeah. But this was a classic arcade. It was one of those arcades. They had the Virtual Racing. They had Street Fighter 2. The first time I saw that in the arcade, and just great memories, playing there. So I just wasn't sure. I don't know. Jesus, I don't know if you remember that area or not.
No, I don't.
I don't know if you make it east side very much, but it's a good. It's no longer there, unfortunately, of course. But
the two that I remember the most were what was it? The one down at South Center, Silver Coin, and that was a small chain, obviously. And then I worked at I was an assistant manager at the Pit Arcade. If any of you remember that place in Chinatown. Anybody?
No.
No.
Yeah, it was kind of a hole in the wall arcade. Really, it just had like a grid wall to separate itself from the rest of the the lobby of the place, and it grew, as much as it could, but it became a hardcore fighting game arena. And Capcom got to a point where, with the local distributors here, they started leasing us preview machines on some of the latest fighting games at the time. So we were the first to get in the first Versus game, X-Men versus Street Fighter. We were the first to get Street Fighter Alpha. And so it was a test location. So everyone came down there, and it became a real hotbed for competitive gaming, at least with fighting games.
That was in Chinatown?
Yeah, that was down in the International District at the Sixth and King building. It was across from the old Wajimaya building.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know if you've been to the Seattle Pinball Museum.
Oh yeah, I know Charlie well and the gang.
Yeah, that's cool. It's over in that area too, right? Chinatown area.
Yeah, it's down there on I think I forget which street it is, but it's right there in Chinatown. Awesome place. If you're in the Seattle area and you haven't checked that out, you pay $6. I think it is $6 or $7, and unlimited play on the 30 pinball machines.
Make sure to follow us, the All Gen Gamers podcast, on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube and in iTunes. And don't forget about those iTunes ratings, guys. We appreciate those. And for all other info, links, and our forum, please visit www.allgengamers.com.